Okay, morning everyone. Thank you very much for joining us today on our ResearchIN series. Today we are extremely privileged to have a practicing Balinese musician, I Wayan Sudirana. He is a composer and ethnomusicologist who received his PhD from the University of British Columbia. He diligently studied ancient music in Bali. In addition, he also studied many world music traditions such as Samulnori music from Korea, the Ghana drumming practices of West Africa, South Indian drumming traditions, and also some Western classical music. With this experience, he developed his music with a strong foundation to seek a new identity in the realm of new music for gamelan. Sudirana has written 2 books about gamelan gong luang and edited a book about gabor, a genre in gamelan gong kabiar tradition. He has written many articles published in journals with the theme of traditional approaches in studying Balinese gamelan and world music, and new music developments in Bali and Indonesia. His current research is focused on the development of new music in Bali and the ancient Balinese manuscript of gamelan philosophy and theory. So thank you so much for agreeing to do this talk with us today, Dr. Sudi. And the title of his presentation today is Prakempa and Aji Ghurnita. I hope I'm saying that right. As the source of creation of neoclassical compositions. All right, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Dr. Ravina. Nice introduction of myself. And thank you to inviting me to be the speaker for this talk today, and to all your the faculty member of University of Science Malaysia too. And it's my honor to be able to participate in this talk. So let me share my screen. Um, is it showing right now? All right. So the title of my presentations today is Prakempa and Aji Ghurnita as the source of creations of neoclassical compositions. So the process of creation in Balinese gamelan traditions is often associated with 2 ancient lontar or manuscript called Prakempa and Aji Ghurnita. These 2 lontars discuss 4 important aspects of Balinese gamelan. The first one is philosophy, and then ethic, aesthetics, and also technical aspect of playing gamelan. The abstract nature of these 2 lontar has made many gamelan composers and also researchers look for a correlation between its contents and the practical aspect of Balinese gamelan. In 1986, Balinese influential scholar, his name is Made Bandem, has written a book entitled Prakampo, sebuah lontar gamelan Bali. So a Balinese gamelan lontar. And this book has often been a reference for the academic composers in composing their classical pieces. However, many are confused of the terms mentioned in the book because they are mostly not used in practical communications in general. So in these presentations, I would like to explore the contents of Prakampo and also Aji Ghurnita lontars in relation to the practice of playing and composing Balinese gamelan. The discussion, I think, will start with a short introductions, like a background of why I'm doing this and how do I do this, and also maybe start with the opinions of some experts regarding Prakampo and Aji Ghurnita and their relationship to the Hindu theology, the philosophy, and also the practice. And then I will move on into like exploring the contents a little bit of the both lontars, like how they are, you know, related to any like, for example, like there's this sound or pitches that are related to the cardinal directions of the universe. And then after that, I will share a little bit like the connection between the what is in the Prakampo and Ajigonito about the structure and the musical form of traditional Balinese gamelan. So the Prakampa and Aji Ghurnita, as I mentioned at the beginning, are two Balinese historical texts that talk exclusively about existing gamelan. Prakampa and Aji Ghurnita are written on the palm leaf, which have long been used as the main medium for writing Balinese literature. The fact shows that the style of the literary code and also like the style of language that are used is similar to the style of the other Lontar genres, which tell about the family tree and the palaces. And this style is called Babad, or Babad is like a chronicle. And then the oldest appearing Lontar is around 1750. I'm sorry, 1750. And that means that the Prakampa and Aji Ghurnita are thought to have been written between the mid uh, 18th and mid 19th centuries. About it. So in the slide, you would see like this is the illustrations of how gods, colors, and also as you see, there's animals over there are put in accordance with the cardinal directions. The left side one is called Padma Buana, and the right side one is this is like a diagram or the it shapes like mandala that is available on the Prakampo and Aji Ghurnita Lontar that is called Pangider Buana. I will talk more about this later. So since the Prakampo and Aji Ghurnita is a bit similar to Chronicle or the Babad, they are written in the younger versions of Kawi language. It's called Kawi Tengahan, like the middle language used in classical Javanese and Balinese literature. These manuscripts are not widely known or read, but it has been published and also translated into Indonesians by, you see on the left one, that is the translations by Professor Bandem in 1986. It's called Prakampa Sebuah Lontar Gamelan Bali. And then the middle one is a trans. Oh, sorry. Can you still see it?
No, the screen went off.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. What did I do? Sorry. Uh, just a sec, okay? You see this?
No, not yet. You want to try resharing again?
Yes. I
Okay.
will. You see this?
Yes, nice, it's back. And then a full screen, wonderful.
Okay. So I'm sorry. So the middle one is a translation to Germany in 1985, and the more recent one is a translation into English and Indonesian. It's by Thomas Hunter in 2010. So they're basically like translating it directly into Indonesian and into their language, and give a little introduction into what is actually inside and what is the lontar is about. There is no deep analysis were done for these two lontars. And Prakampa and Aji Ghurnita are also been discussed briefly, first by Michael Tensers in his book The Gamelan Kebiar, The Art of 20th Century Balinese Gamelan. So Tensor has been like having these small sub chapters, just talk briefly about the cosmology in Prakampa in relation to the practice of Balinese Gamelan. And then Andrew Clay McGraw also briefly discusses the correlation between the philosophy of Balinese Gamelan, the philosophy within the Prakampa and Aji Ghurnita. And last, Adrian Vickers discusses the connection between gamelan ensemble in the illustration. There are traces in the Kamasan wayang paintings tradition. So here are three scholarly publications that I found that have been explored a little bit about these two lontars in their work. So here, I found the real lontar of Aji Ghurnita that was available at the Bali Provincial Library in Denpasar. But I couldn't find the real lontar of Prakampo. But there are many um, um, translations, uh, like in the form of a book in some of the informants that I went to. But when I asked them like, do you know where is the real lontar? They they said that. So judging from the language descriptions, writing styles, and simplicity in both lontar, so Prof. Bandem believes that Aji Ghurnita is older than um, Prakampo. Uh, Another scholar is Iwayan Rai. Professor Iwayan Rai is also the former rector of ISI Denpasar. Also echoed what Bandem said and stated that the description of Chatur Muni Muni. So in both Lontar, they both explain about Chatur Muni Muni. So the Chatur Muni Muni is the teaching of four sounds. Yeah. So the description of Chatur Muni Muni in both Lontar uh, is believed that Aji Gurnita is the guide to be used by many writers in interpreting the new forms and descriptions produced afterward. So that means that Aji Gunita is the foundation of writing any other manuscript on this Chatur Muni Muni on the later one. However, it has been not found any writing when actually these two lontars were written by their authors. Uh, Judging from the way they are written, the two lontar utilize good style of Central Javanese language and writing, different from the ancient Kawi language. So this central Japanese style of language and writing has been developed into Balinese Kawi language that is easier to understand. So based on this, I think the two lontars are, you know, predicted to be around available around the mid 18th or 19th centuries. Also, the two lontars do not mention the real names of its author. Prakampa, yeah, only mentioned the name of Gautama, and while Ajigonito was the advice of Sanghyang Narada. So both of these two are not the real names of the authors. On the other hand, in Prakampa never mentioned the names of Narada, like in Ajigonito, but mentioned the name of Bhagawan Wiswakarma, a Hindu high priest. The contents of Prakampa clearly display that Gautama was indeed a high priest, or at least someone who lived in the palace and had a hidden and abstract concept about the relationship between the notes of gamelan with God and the power of the natural element. So these two authors, yeah, if I could say authors, were really clever to not mention their real names. Yeah. They are also smart to quote many small passages that are considered important and relevant to open up opportunities for wider interpretations. They also provide stimulus for broader references and materials for later readers and writers. Those who compiled Prakampo and Aji Ghurnita are people who know very well that a theory can be generated from the result of a practical analysis. In other words, they already believe in a very close relationship between theory and practice, and it is equally described in their writings. This Tulontar contains the teaching of four sound, as I mentioned before, the Chatur Muni Muni. Chatur Muni Muni's reviews written in the Prakampa are more organized compared to Aji Ghurnita. However, both reviews convey the same essence. According to Bandem, again, there are actually several copies of Prakampa. He found the 3 to 4 Prakampa copies scattered in several places at his house and also several other places in his teacher houses.
Is it Dr. Wayang's line? Gurvin, are you there?
Yes, doctor. Yes, doctor. He's
This
lying.
is the original Lontar
Ah, okay.
when I asked Bandem. This situation is different from Ajigurnita's manuscript, which has been found in its original form in several museums in Bali, such as the Gedong Kertia, the Bali Provincial Cultural Service Library, in several priest houses in Bali, and also in the homes of the people who are engaged in literatures. This information I found, I got from my interview with Professor Wright. The fact also provide that new perspective that it is possible that there is no Prakampo in the form of a lontar, but it is a qualified interpretations, reinterpretation, and creations, writing new ones based on the existing ones from an expert in literature, theology, cosmology, gamelan music, and also the practice of Balinese inner power knowledge, or called Kadiatmikan. So in this research, so I'm trying to do a comprehensive study of Prakampo and Aji Ghurnita, and use my own experiences as a Balinese gamelan player, musician, and also composers, and also my knowledge in doing comprehensive analysis of the music and in relation to the philosophical aspect, and to do my interpretation and also reinterpretation of what is available on both lontar, to be able to form a reference in composing neoclassical pieces in um, Balinese gamelan traditions. So first, like, I'm trying to search for the origin of music in the lontar, and then I try to look for the translations of both lontar as a source, because the language, the Kawi Tengahan, or Bahasa Kawi, um, I personally not uh, able to understand fully. I could understand a little bit, but not fully understood. So it's a good thing that there are scholars who have been translating it into Indonesians and also English. And then I also conducted some interviews with competent figures like Professor Bandem, Professor Rai, and some other priests like Gusti Mangku Ketut Suparto is a high priest from Nusa Penida, and also some other high priests from Ubud, to be able to get the connection between this, the practice of inner power, and also the microcosm and also the macrocosm in regard to sound that's available on the universe and also inside your body. And then based on that, interpretation is based on my experience as musician and composer. So, and then I also think about insider and outsider in this case, because as an insider on the practice of traditional Balinese composition, so I will use my experiences in my long life experiences in playing gamelan to be able to get some of uh, terminologies used or explained in Prakampo and Aji Ghurnita, and trying to relate them to how the actual practice is conducted. So whether there's a correlation between the two. And as an outsider, I put myself as an outsider on the exposition of philosophy, ethics, morality, and also other stuff. So in this case, like, I'm not the expert on Balinese theology, so I put myself as an outsider. And then the last thing is quoted the mantlehood by musicality researchers become part of music and also creating Balinese music, and trying to get more into deep analysis in doing this.
Sorry, everyone. I think Dr. Sudi is having a little bit of internet connection issues. Please bear with us.
Auntie Sudi, we cannot actually hear you.
Dr. Wayan, can you turn on your speak? Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Sudi, your mic is not
Auntie
switched on.
Sudi, we cannot hear actually. Auntie Sudi, we cannot hear your sound, your voice. Auntie Sudi, we cannot hear
Gurvin, just hang
your
on,
sound,
Gurvin.
your voice.
So both Lontar um, are teaching that. And then Lango provides comprehensive information about compositions, instrument, musical form, and structures. And lastly, Gagabog provides information about the technique of playing the gamelan properly and correctly. So these are basically the four aspects that are discussed in Prakampa. And then in Aji Ghurnita, um, first it discuss about the teaching method of tabu-tabuhan. Tabu-tabuhan is the percussion music or like musical form taught by Bhagawan Narada, which is the not the real name of the author. And then it explains about the gamelan pitches in the cosmological context and their relationship to the human soul. This is like pretty much similar to what is also explained in the Prakampo. And also, Ajigonito also describe about ceremonies and rituals for gamelan, which is similar to Prakampo as well. And then the big description available in Ajigonito is the teaching of the four sound, which is called Chatur Muni Muni. So in Chatur Muni Muni, it will be like explaining about the sound of some four four mean gamelan that was born in relation to the some god and goddess. So here is a quote as well. So I couldn't see the quote. Sorry. So this is from Tom Hunter. So the Prakampo and Aji Ghurnita are considered to be the highest teaching of all. They are subtle and actually have some confidential traits that should be retained. Initially, only certain people and the chosen ones can be given the access to read and study it. Before learning and understanding the playing technique of musical instrument, one must first purify himself before exploring the concept of the gamelan, and must adhere the rules and actual behavior as taught in the lontar. It is believed that sacred knowledge in the lontar will give virtuousness, and beauty in life until the end of life. On the other hand, if a person does not carry out the rules and behavior as taught in the Lontar, it is believed that the evil energy will continue to come and bother until the end of life. Even the soul is only suitable for hellfire and will not be able to reincarnate as a humans because one has false falsified sacred teaching. So this is what I mentioned about these two lontar are confidential. It's only available for those who are already purified themselves. So luckily, I've been purified like 3 times already. So the priest, before agreeing to teach me this, the priest had done purification ceremony to me to be able to just open and also read it. So so this one is the shape. Um, the Pangidarbuana or the cardinal directions of the notes available in the directions. This one is from the Prakampo. So in the shape like mandala, this one is called Pangidarbuana. It is the distributions of notes around the macrocosm. Yeah. So there are 10 notes and divided into 2, 5, and 5 note. This 5 note is called Pelog and Slendro. It's actually like the name of Balinese scale, Pelog scale and Slendro scale. So if you see the mandala, the note, can you see my cursor here, Pravina?
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can. You can? Okay. So as you can see, the top one here is north. The bottom is south. Here is east, and this is west. Yeah. So the each direction has their own note, which is in the east. Is the note is called dang here. Yeah, dang, which is this one. C here, yeah, dang. And then there is also like the god, which is Iswara. The god Iswara owns the dang note. And then he also has like its own syllables, which is sang. It has its own color, which is white. And then there's another one that's not written here. It has its own urip. Urip is a number, sacred number, which is on the east. The number is 5. Yeah. So the note is dang, or if you think of a Western uh, correlation of dang is like C. The note is dang, and then the god is Iswara. The syllables is sang. The color is white. The number is 5. So then if we move to the south, the note is ding. Yeah, ding. The god is Brahma. The syllables is bang. The color is red. The sacred number is 9. West, the god is Mahadewa. The syllabus is tang. The note is deng. The color is yellow. The numbers is 7. North, the god is Vishnu. The note is dong. The syllables is ang. The color is black. And then the number is 4. And so on. So there's the middle, which I need to explain. The middle has 2 because there's upper middle and then lower middle. So the upper middle, The god is Siwa. The syllables is ing. The note is dong, and then the color is five colors. Yeah, it's called manca warna, and then the sacred number is eight. The lower middle, the god is Siwa Buddha. Yeah, and then the syllables is yang. The note is ndong, which is this one, the slender one, and then the color is brumbut, which is mix of colors, and then the sacred number is also eight. So this is related to what is in Chinese. You have the concept of balance, right? Yin yang. In Bali, we have yin yang, yin yang. So the middle part is has two, the upper and the lower middle. And also on the, say, like the northeast also has a similar thing. So this is basically like information of the 10th note in cardinal direction of Prakampa, which is like has the its own relation to the human body. So for example, in the east, when the note is dang or si, and the place, it has its own characters, because the based on the god is Iswara, it's like more calm, and then the color is white, and then when you relate this to your body, it's actually placed in your is what we call papushuan, or your heart. Yeah. So the east side, the east, when you take everything or take the note, and it will touches your heart, like that. And then the one on the south, which is the note ding. Yeah. The note ding, with the god Brahma, with the color red, it will, when you take this into your body, it it lives on your liver. The west, is relate to your kidney, and so on and so on, like that. So there's a relation. Later I would explain like how are these relate to characters, and when you are choosing all of these note as the main point of your composition that can give certain characters. For example, like if you want the music can be like scary, yeah, you can use the note dang, which is the one on the west, because Mahadeva, which is another name of Siwa, is having, sometimes it has this really strong magical characteristic, that in the Balinese, based on the Lontar, believe that when you use dang as the point, the focus on your composition, it is believed that gives this special, scary, and magical characteristic of the music, like that. So on the other hand, yeah, if we compare this one on Prakampa to Ajigonito, so the right mandala shape Pangidar Buana is, this is from Aji Ghurnita, and this is Prakampa. So if we compare, there are some differences here. Okay, if we see here Iswara on the east, Sang is the syllables, and Dang is the sound. Here's the same, Iswara, Dang, and Sa. But if you look at the middle, here the note is Dong, but here the note is Ding and Ding. So there are differences here. And also here on the west, the syllabus is tang, which is the same, but the note, the sound here is dang, and here is dong. Yeah, and also here, southwest is also different. So I've been asking like some informants regarding these differences, like why is it different? And they are giving me like good reasons. Both, like um, have meaningful and philosophical reasons in both. So the note ding in Aji Ghurnita is placed in the middle with Shiva as the god. In Prakampo, the note placed in the middle is the note dong. And if you see only the dang, yeah, here, dang on the east, like what I said, and dong on the north, yeah, are placed at the same cardinal point for the two lontars. So I asked this priest, high priest, his name is I Wayan Sudirana. He said that the core center is placed at the top center. Yeah, I mean, what I mean by the top center is the upper center. The god Siwa and the sound is Ding, and the mystical center it occupies the center of the sound field and give the fastest vibrational frequencies. So what he meant is like he believed that Ding has this fastest vibrations. So unlike Dong, which is the center note in the Prakampa, yeah, Ding occupies the center note with the fastest vibrations that can penetrate to the doors, quote unquote, of the deepest part of the heart. In Bali, this is called Padma Hradaya. So the priest Idawayan Granoka believed that only the note Ding that can give the fastest vibration that can penetrate to the deepest part of human heart. So he continued to say that Ding consists of three letters, which is the D, I, and at the end. So NG is ng. So D is a symbol of exploding sound. Yeah. And this is related to the creations of the world itself. E is the center or the beginning of the sound vibration that can penetrate upward. And NG or is the vibration that makes the ding sound to have the turning point of window. Window is round. Round is circle. Round is empty. Symbol of emptiness, which is in the horizontal line with the dang note. So like ding, horizontal with dang, and also horizontal in the horizontal line of dang. So west, middle, and east. Yeah, dang, dong, ding, and then dong. Um, so if you see the gods of west, middle, and east, they are basically the same god. This is according to my informant. So Iswara is also another name of Shiva. Mahadewa is also another name of Shiva. So he is believing on this because this is what he believed. The reason why Ding is in the middle. Uh, um, so the three note Dang, Ding, and Dong, which has the same god, is believed constituted of extraordinary three-dimensional wave center. This is what my informant said. So then I have questions like why the placement of the notes in Prakampo and Ajigonito is different. Yeah. So one thought that would be the placement of the notes in Prakampo and Ajigonito. It has for me like they have why is it different because it has the really basic reasons and reasonable thought in it. One option is ding is the center, the beginning of the note that derives from the dong note. So basically, like ding and dong is like the center, the beginning, because ding is playable, it is derived from dong note. Because dong as a window, which is the circle or the emptiness, and it becomes the beginning of the rotations of the note. So when I think of myself from this information from Granoka, ding is in the middle, but ding note is derived from dong because dong is the window, the emptiness. So basically, like ding and dong are basically the center. The both are valid to be the center of the note. Yeah. Hopefully you can follow me. I know this is like probably like really heavy for those of you who are not familiar, especially with the notes of the gamelan. But for me, I found these two differences are really fascinating and really interesting. They are both different arrangement, but it has the same essence, the same um, correlations, like why a certain note has the center and why the others also the center because it's the original notes that become from the emptiness, something like that. So here I put a table here that will give you information about like the directions and the note um, um, on its directions, and then next is the god, yeah, and then the colors, and then the aksara, and then the urip. Urip is the numbers. And based on my informants, I only found like these musical characters of only the Pelog scale. So these are the Pelog, the east, south, west, north, and upper centers are the Pelog scale. So based on my informants, so the note dang, which is east, it can give the energetic and sublime characteristic. And then ding is the noble and sweet. Dang, as I said, is supernatural and scary. Dung is feminine and graceful. Dong is majestic. So composers usually like relying in their note selections on this characteristic. So if you want your piece to be sweet and noble, you can use ding as the center of your note progressions. In Bali, the center of note is usually like the note that is played at the same time with the gong, the big gong. Yeah. Or in you can think of a tonal center as you think of a Western music. So if you use ding as tonal, then it believes for the Balinese can give the sweet and noble characteristic. On the other hand, if you want to make a supernatural, scary, horror musical characteristic, you can use like dang as um, the note centers. Yeah. Do I still have time, Pravina?
Yes, you do. You want to play some
Okay.
videos?
Yeah. Here, before the video, I want to give. Uh, Here is the in regard to performing rituals for all kind of musical instrument. It should be at the time of the wuku krulut on a Saturday or Sanichara and on a Kajang, and this is a special day. This is the both lontar give the same information. So if you want to do rituals for gamelan, you should do it on do it on these particular days. So these days are written in Balinese days. If you know, like in Bali, we have a special calendar. It's called Wariga. So in Wariga, there's this wuku, which is the week. Yeah, 30 different weeks that we have, and then days, the 5 day week and the 7 day week also available. So here in the lontar is given like you have to do it in wuku krulut. Yeah, I think krulut is the week 24 if I'm not mistaken. And then in the 7 day week is called Sanichara, which is we have the 7 day week, right? Sanichara is Saturday. And then on the 5 day week of Kajang, we also have the 1 week that consists of 5 days. So Kajang and Sanichara is the each last day of the week. So if anyone want to do ritual for gamelan, they should do it on this particular day. There are offerings that should be put out on the gamelan, like what I saw on the slides, and there are also a bigger offering as well. I couldn't find any pictures, along with a purification ritual done by the priest. Yeah. When performing rituals for musical instrument, after completing the accessories of the ritual, all of the members of the ensemble should offer prayers. Yeah. So not just the giving offering, but the member of the gamelan ensemble should also be there to offer the prayers. So usually, um, I have my own gamelan here. I usually done this in every 6 months in circle, because to give respect to the gamelan based on what is written on these two lontars. So now let me discuss a little bit about the gagabog, or the playing technique written on the Prakampa and Aji Ghurnita. Prof. Bandem said that gagabog is an important aspect in Balinese gamelan. Gagabog is not just a skill to hit and also damp the gamelan keys, but has a deeper connotations. Gagabog has a close relationship with the orchestrations, and almost every instrument has its own gagabog. It contains aspects of the physical behaviors, quote unquote, what Bandam said, of the instruments. The natural physical nature of the instruments contained in Balinese gamelans gives a quality of beauty to its individual uh, and also to the audience. So, as you probably have known, in on each ensemble in Balinese gamelan tradition, one ensemble may consist of like 30 different instruments, and the smallest consists of 4 instruments. So each of these instruments has their own technique. In Bali, we call it gagabug. Yeah, based on the physical behavior of the instrument as well, which means that based on what is instrument shape and also like made, and how the mallets are produced, how the shape of the mallet. So before explaining, so this is I'm gonna play a video of a technique of playing this particular one is for the gamelan gong kebiar, which is the 20th century's gamelan. So let me play the video first and then talk more about it. So as you can see over there, there are metallophones, yeah, and there are like this one is the small gong, small suspended gong in a row, and there are drums, there are other instruments as well. So they all have different playing technique. So for example, on the metallophone, sorry, they are using a mallet. They hit it, and then in order to stop the sound, they have to damp the keys. There are also like more special uh, technique on how to interlock with others and how to connect with other instrument as well. So the basic technique of playing and composition in gamelan are explained on verse 39 in Prakampo. Yeah, sloka or verse 39. So here is what is written on Prakampo. This is in Kawi Tengahan language. Yeah, but it's basically explains the names of playing technique. Um, Explanation of paniti and gagabog. Sorry, this is the paniti, yeah, and gagabog. Yeah, paniti is a rhythm, which is the core of the rhythmic patterns, and gagabog become the essence of the piece. Yeah, the special technique in like playing the interlocking or playing the some other figurations for the piece. The paniti is an important part of the size of the piece. So uh, Western scholars like Michael Tensers and also Jap Koons or Colin McPhee has another term for paniti, which is they call it the core melody. So Tensor said the principles of nuclear melody denotes the sequence of note played by the chalung and understood as the core melody of the music. So the paniti or the core melody are played by two instruments. One is the metallophone called chalung, and the other one is the metallophone called the lower interval metallophone called jegogan. Both of these two instruments are the melodic instruments, the instrument that plays the melody. So there are peniti. The jagogan plays every 4 beat, and then the chalong plays sometimes plays every 2 or sometimes every one beat. So I'm going to show you the sample of this paniti on this video. Basic melody played by these 4 instruments, the jagogan and chalong. Jagogan plays 2 notes on beat 1 and beat 5. Ready? Go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The cello plays the complete melody, which is played every beat. Ready? Go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1. So this is the gong cycle and the basic melody. So as you can see, like the chalong plays every beat, yeah, and then jagogan is playing every 4 beat. So this is like the size that what they call by the size of the music. So the size meaning how many times do you play within the beat, within the cycle of the beat. So next is the first shloka number 40, which is talking about the names of uh, gagabog, which is the playing technique. So here in Kawi language, there are saying that if for the gong, yeah, is called kaget atangi or buh loko nada ngaran, which is the name for the playing of gong is called kaget atangi. And then the gagabog for this the playing technique for trompong is this um, suspended gong in a row, yeah, it's called sakar tunjung susun. And then here's another instrument, the barangan, yeah, the playing technique is called sad pada. Barangan is this lead metallophone. And then there are many more names for playing technique of the instruments. However, there are no like example written in the lontars. So in this case, so as a musician or as a composer, I have to relate what it means by kaget atangi, what it means by sad pada, what it means by ska tunjung susun, like that. There's also like if you can see the playing technique for giying here. Giying is the lead metallophone. It's called tuntun rasmi. If we translate tuntun rasmi, yeah, tuntun means to give a guide. Rasmi like everyone. So this is really related to what is the function of giying or the lead metallophone, because the lead metallophone function to give guidance to others metallophone, to all others musician while performing the piece, yeah. But if we relate, and then we have to relate this to the practical aspect of how to play giying or the lead metallophone in order to be able to lead everyone else in the ensemble, yeah. Okay. And then on the sloka number 35, it says the musical form of some classical pieces. Here is called tabuh pisan. Tabuh is the form. Pisan means one. Tabuh telu. Telu means three. Tabuh pat. Pat means four. And tabuh nam. Nam means six. So the same thing is only explain the form of a music composition as tabuh pisan, which is mean one. So and also others like tabuh telu, tabuh pat, and tabuh nam. And there's another one is called tabuh putus. If as a musician and also composer, I found the name of tabuh pisan in this genres called lambatan, which is the classical religious music of gong gede, yeah, the court music. And when I analyze the music of tabuh pisan, for example, in gong gede, the ancient religious music, and I found the correlation between what pisan means or one means in the actual piece. So what it means by one is that there's a stroke of this instrument called kempli and kempor, yeah, which is the middle-sized gong. So on the piece, this instrument is played only one, and then it is believed by all of my informants and also me as a Minnie has written about this. Michael Tensel also written about this, which is the stroke of the kempli and kempor gives the name of the structure of the piece. If you look at tabuh pat, pat means four. Within the form of the one section of the piece, the kempli and the kempor has four strokes. So when the kempor and kempli strike four times, that is called tabuh pat. When it strikes three times, that is called tabuh telu. Of course, you can't like, as play it anywhere you want. It is based on these musical lines. For example, like the kempli is played every 16 note is 16 beat, 16 beat kempli, 16 beat kempor, yeah, like that. So when you already hit four times of each kempli and kempor, and then the final line is the gong. So that is called tabuh pat, similar to tabuh nam and tabuh putus and tabuh telu. The last one I would like to share today is the technique or the models of interlocking figurations. As you might already know, that Balinese Gamelan music is really famous with these interlocking figurations, right? So in Prakampo and Aji Ghurnita also explain, telling us that there are 10 models of melodic interlocking. One is called Cetorekan, and the other one is Anyakati, Hagagelut, and the last one is Anyarang Paksi. So similar to other sloka or verses, here it doesn't explain what it means by the Torekan, what it means by Hanyakati. So we have to translate what it means and then relate it to the actual practice. Oh, this is what calls a Torekan. The Torekan is another name of Kotekan, yeah, which is like means that you are. Imagine if you have if you're trying to get the flowers from the really tall tree, you have to use like a stick, and you are trying to hit the flower, right? So this movement of back and forth, yeah, is ngote. It's called ngote, which is similar to what we are doing in doing the interlocking figuration in gamelan. So in this video, I'm trying to explain how the kotekan are formed in the Balinese classical Balinese gamelan. The elaboration on gangsa is basically divided into two parts. In Bali, this one is called kotekan. Kotekan is a melody that is divided by 2%. That basically in this case is one is playing on beat, the second one is playing off beat. The one is played on beat is called polos. The one that is played off beat is called sanse. Now is the example of polos. Sanse. Sanse, the one that is played off the beat. So now let's put them, the polos and sanse, together, and they will play an interlocking figurations that is called kotekan. Ready, go. The same idea for the gangsas. There are riong. It's also playing similar types of kotekan, but in riong they call kilitan. The kilitan, there are two parts. One is the part, the lower part. The second one is the higher part. So the lower part is like this. The higher part and so now if we put them together, both parts, it will be sounded like this. So, yeah, I think it's already like 11:14 right now. So I think that is what I could share for now about my research in these two ancient sacred lontars that talks about give an explanation about Balinese gamelan, and I hope everyone's will not be, I mean, confused and will have questions. I would be happy to share with you more on, and then I will give time back to Pravina as a moderator to lead the Q&A session. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sudi. Thank you so much. Very, very insightful and very comprehensive presentation on the two ancient manuscripts and how they are actually being incorporated in Balinese compositions. He did warn me in the beginning. He said it's going to be a bit heavy, but it was very, very insightful. And I love how the tradition and the ancestry is preserved and honored in the music and in the practice. So I'm going to open up for questions. I think there was one question Shireen asked. I wonder if this has correlations with the seven chakra theory. I think it was one of the slides you were showing the mandala, if I'm not mistaken.
Should I answer it directly?
Yes, Ken.
Absolutely yes, Sharin. I mean, there are limitations of information that I could share here because of the Ajawera rules in Balinese. Ajawera is when you are not able to share information to to any person. Only the right person can receive this information. But to elaborate a little bit on the seven chakras, yes. When I said about micro and microcosm, yeah. So that is basically like how your body trying to connect with the universe, with the nature. So we have 10 pitches spread out in the cardinal directions. And these 10 pitches is basically like has 10 syllables. Okay? So these 10 syllables is called dasa aksara. Dasa means 10, aksara means sacred syllables. From this dasa aksara, there is what you call that a process of condensing the 10 to become 7. Yeah. So sa connect with so the ten syllables is sa ba ta a I na ma si wa ya. Yeah, 10. And then when you put sa and ba together, it becomes this. Ba and ta, it become this. So when you connect the each of, when you connect each of the syllables, you condense it, it becomes 7. So the same as the note, when you put the note dang and ndang, yeah, which is the east and the southeast, it becomes another note. And then we have the concept of genta, pinara, pitu. Pitu means 7. That's why we have the 7 note scale. Is also based on this condensing the 10 into a smaller, a more condensed part or unit will become 7. So this Gentapanarapitu, these 7 elements are actually connected to your chakra. That's why it's connected to the inner power knowledge in Bali, in how you develop from your bottom chakra, the Muladhara, into your crown. And each has its own spell to be able to harmonize the chakra based on this Prakampo and Aji Ghurnita's what you call it knowledge or teaching. So actually, the Balinese gamelan musicians are also practicing meditation to be able to have the harmonization of the notes inside your body and also the note available in the universe. So maybe those are the information that I could share for now. The detail and everything I could not, but maybe if you are really interested, you can come to Bali, do purification, and we can talk more about this.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Open invitation by Dr. Sudi. And very nice. Thank you. I have another question from Michelle. What's the difference between Pelok notes and Selendro notes? And does gamelan have a fixed key for these notes?
Yes. I forgot to mention earlier, there are no standard tuning in Balinese gamelan. Yeah.
Just
So that's
intonation.
why, yeah, uh, the Selendro and Pelog, there are two scales. As far as I know, these terms are derived from Java because in after, the Majapahit kingdom, right? So after the fall of Majapahit kingdom, there are like exodus of priests and people from Majapahit moved to Bali. So basically, like I think during this time, like there are many experts in Indonesian music as well. Balinese music also moved to Bali and brought this term, Pelog and Slendro. It's actually like if you think of the piano, yeah, it's the white keys and the black keys. Don't put them together. Like the white keys is Pelog, the black keys only Slendro. Something like that. Well, we don't have the standard tuning. That's why it's a bit hard for me to explain because Slendro for one ensemble called Genderwayang would be different from Slendro for another ensemble called Angklung, like that. So basically, the idea is the white keys and the black keys. Yeah.
Thank you. I think that's a very nice, very simple analogy for Western music students
Mm.
to visualize Pelog and Slendro.
Yeah.
Thanks, Sudi. We have a question from Dr. Fairuz. Would you say this compositional method derives from, or was it inspired by a set theory from the West?
So inspired by a set theory from the West.
Or does it derive some inspiration from the West, or did it, or is it, I think he's asking, is there some form of correlation? Or did Balinese music have its own set that had no correlation with the West?
As far as based on my experience, like I don't think so. Because like when I compare, for example, like uh, we have the stress, right? No, like how we stress the beat, right? In Balinese Gamelan, the stress, if you say like if there's an 8-beat cycle, the stress of the beat is in Balinese Gamelan is at the end of the beat. For example, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2. The stress is on 8. On the other hand, the West you stresses on 1, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's like if we connect this with how we cut a person name, for example, my name Sudi, yeah. Here, my dad, my wife, my son will call me instead of Sue, but they call me D. They use the last syllables. But in the West, like Michael, they would stress on the first syllables, Mike. So this probably like affect, connect to your music as well. Maybe, yeah. So I'm just like trying to connect it that way. And then also like we have other differences with the West. So as far as I'm, when I live in Canada for 10 years, like I found like really a lot of differences. So just in not just in music, but also in life. So I don't know. My question is I don't know, but I don't think so.
Very nice, thanks. I mean, personally, I think they developed as two very um, individual systems.
Mm.
I feel like over the years they may have influenced each other, but
Oh
in its
yeah,
original form, they
of course.
developed as independent musical forms and musical systems. That's how I see it, because it's similar to the Indian system of music development as well.
Especially today, these days when like internets are already
Yes.
like yeah, I agree.
Correct. We've got a few more questions. One from a student. Hi, doctor. For the Chatur Muni Muni, what are the four sounds? Because I think you said that it's about teaching the four sounds.
Hmm.
So one of the students is asking, what do you refer, or what do you mean by the four sounds?
Okay, let me look at it. It's called like this. There are gamelans. There are 4 gamelans available in the. Hang on. Let me find it. So I'm not mistaken. Um, Basically, um, there is four gamelan. Yeah, the four sound. What it says in the lontar. The first one is Semara Pegulingan. Yeah, Semara Pegulingan. That's the first one. The second one is Semara Petangian. The third one is Semara Palinggihan. And the fourth one is Semara Pandirian. So these are the four sound that connect to your life. Yeah? Because when we translate what it means by Semara Pegulingan, Pegulingan means your bed or sleeping or maguling, sleeping. So there are sound for you when you are going to sleep, like that. And then Semara Petangian, which is the second one, it comes from the word metangi, which is arising. Yeah. So basically, when you wake up. So there are music, there are sound provided for you when you are waking up. And then the third one is Semara Palinggihan. Palinggihan derived from the word malinggi, which is sitting or taking a seat, maybe ritually on the throne, which is like we're talking about in the palace, right? So there are also music that accompany you when you are sitting on the throne and also standing. And then the last one is what I said standing, which is Semara Pandirian. When you stand up, Pandirian is berdiri, right? Stand up. So there are special music or sound that is played for when the king standing up from the throne. So Prakampo and Aji Ghurnita are teaching you how you create this music for your sleeping, for your when you're arising, when you're matangi, when you're awake, and when you're sitting, and when you are standing. Basically, it's
Complete
like
life cycle.
yeah.
Yeah, I remember in a conversation we had, you did say that it's very much a part of life and it's in every aspect of your life. And it's very apparent in the compositions as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice. Thank you. Is there, this is from Jenna. She's asking, is there one instrument that is the most important in the gamelan ensemble? I think it's the instrument you play.
uh I mean, it's a really hard question because all instruments in gamelan are important.
Correct.
If you take out one, they're meaningless, you know. For example, like gong, even though you are only played gong at the end of the cycle, only one stroke, without it, it's nothing. You have no goal.
Yeah.
So, and then other instrument like the cymbal, the cheng cheng, it's like when you are cooking without salt.
Very nice.
Yeah, it's like strengthen the dynamic changes, like good more strength to and rhythmic figurations. And then like although drummers are the lead instrument, yeah, but drummer without the beat keeper and the gong cycle is meaningless. You can't do anything.
Correct.
So my answer is like all instruments are important because they are together to make this music.
Correct. And that's why it's called an ensemble.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because everyone has their own role and equally as important.
Yes.
Nice. Okay, what do we have next? Is there, oh, this might be a tricky one. I would like to know, are there any differences between Malaysian and Indonesian gamelan in terms of the rituals and offerings?
Differences?
Yeah.
I don't really know how the gamelan or rituals
Is in
run in
Malaysia,
Malaysia.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't really know.
I think I would have to answer that because the Malaysian gamelan practice has eliminated a lot of the ritualistic practices. So it's just the music per se.
Okay.
As you can see in Bali, it's very much still honoring that. That's why I said there's a lot of the traditional element and the origins of it is still preserved
Mm.
very respectfully. So
Even though, like, for the commercial performances for tourist attractions,
Mhm.
if you ask the musician or dancer to take out the offerings part,
Mhm.
they would want to do it.
They won't want to do it. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's ingrained already, isn't it, in the practice?
Mm.
It's part of
Yeah.
the practice. Yes. So yeah, actually there is a difference, Marlon. Um, Putri, I'm just going to move on with the questions. I would like to ask, how did you know how to change the tempo? For example, from the slow tempo and to the interlocking techniques. I think that's a very common question for non-gamelan musicians. How do you know how to? Everybody seems to be progressing at the correct speed and then slowing down. Yeah,
The answer is practice.
nice.
So when
Very
you
honest answer.
yeah, when you practice, like, you will know certain cues, and then you will get other people, you will connect to other musicians feeling.
Mm-hmm.
You will know, like, from gesture, from, like, um what is it called, like the playing technique, no, no, the sound cues, for example, like from drum sound.
Mm.
There are certain sound that will give you uh, the start to go faster or to go down. For example, like the left hand stroke, ta. Sometimes it will slows down, sometimes it goes up. This is depends on the musical context. Yeah.
Right.
So practice. The answer is practice. We explain the cues from the lead instrument. When will you go down? When will you go? When you speed up, and then, like, how to speed up together. You have to be able to listen to the beat keeper. In Balinese, we have the kajar who plays the beat. The
Mm-hmm.
kajar, although control the tempo, but the musician of kajar, the kajar musician, can't just speed up the tempo by himself without knowing the rules, right?
Yes. Yes.
So yeah, you have to practice.
It's a unspoken language among all the
Yes.
musicians.
Yes.
All right. Thank you. Fakrul has a question. Just out of curiosity, in your experience of playing the gamelan, which instrument, in your opinion, is the most difficult to play? And if there is, why?
For me, because I usually play drums, yeah,
Mhm.
and I could play all of the instruments. But right now, like, when I sit down in the gong, yeah, when I play gong, I usually forgot to hit the gong because I know, okay, gong is here, and I think I used to playing drum. I used to listen to the gong now is played, but when
Mm,
I play it, I didn't hit it. That
yeah.
my feeling is gone now. But then I was like, really, really sad because I was the one who should play the gong, but I didn't play it. Sometimes, um, the most easiest part can be really difficult too.
Yeah. Correct.
And for me, like the string, yeah, there are string instrument in gamelan called rebab. Probably you guys also own rebab, and I could play it, but a little bit. I think this is like difficult for me to play because I'm not used to any like string instrument.
Yep.
And then because of that, I choose string instrument rebab for my final examinations when I did my undergraduate at
I see.
because I want to study. And
Mm.
still until now I found it this is really difficult for me to play.
Yeah, like you're right. Sometimes the easiest instrument is the most difficult. The gong has the least amount of notes as
Yeah,
opposed to the rest of the instruments, but it is difficult or tricky in the sense you have to keep the cycle going and you have to know where you are in the 8-beat
yeah,
cycle.
yeah.
Yep. Uh, are all gamelan instruments based on pentatonic mode? No, not really. We have the 7-note scale and we have the 5-note scale as well.
And I developed like 10-note scale right now, and I have like 15-note scale in the
There
back.
you go.
See over
There you
there?
go. So yeah, and they're not all based on the pentatonic mode. Associate Professor Hadi has a question here. Based on the formula, the composition of the song has to adhere to the objective or mood of the song. Uh,
Maybe he talks about him in the when I mentioned the characteristic, right?
I think so.
Um, that is tentative. Like you could use that as your reference, but you could also not use that as a reference. Yeah, there is no like fixed formula that you have to follow when you are composing. Uh, uh, but the fixed formula, if you want to compose, for example, like what is explained on Prakampo, which is the tabuh pisan, for example, there is really fixed formula on structure only, not on melody.
Right,
How many gongs, how many compor, how many complete,
right.
and then yeah. So the fixed formulas are basically like that, not the melody. The melody is based on 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 your imaginations, your
Right. So it
intuition.
depends on the composition then.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. All right. Um, as a question here, I'm not sure if you're able to, what is the difference? What are the differences between Chinese music and gamelan music? I think because they both use the system of pentatonic
Sonic.
scale.
Mm, what could
Tricky
I think
questions.
of? Since right now, like, well, like in Chinese, do they have mostly like they mostly have this string instrument, but then they have the drums, right? They have the
Yes.
shigu
Yes.
drum. Well,
Tricky question. I think just because the two systems use the pentatonic scale, there are many differences because when you play music, I mean, this is just my opinion. When you play music, it's not merely notes. There's a lot of emotion that goes into it. There's a lot of ornamentations that go into it that give it a certain characteristic. So when you hear, I always tell my students, just because you play Japanese music on a Korean music or on a Chinese music, does that make the Chinese music Japanese? Right? Are you interchanging identity just because you play a different type of music? Like if I play an Indian raga on a saruling, does that make the saruling an Indian instrument? So I think that identity is music is so fluid. So there's a lot of
and
differences. Notes
yeah,
are just, it's just 5 notes. It's the identity and the characteristic you give to it.
and also we have to underline that what is pentatonic though? Pentatonic is just the 5-note
Right.
scale,
Yes.
because here, like as I said in the beginning, like we have no standard tuning.
Mhm.
5-note scale for gong kebiar in my village would be different tuning to the 5-note gong kebiar in another village.
Correct. Correct.
So we can't just like, because of the term pentatonic, you think of these pentatonic are the same everywhere. It's not like that.
The pitch is not fixed.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I always tell my students it's based on a system called just intonation. Western music is equal temperament, the tuning is
Yeah.
fixed. But with Eastern styles of music, Indonesian, Malaysian, Indian, Middle Eastern, it's based on just intonation. So it's always the musician's ear tuning the instrument
Yeah.
without a tuning fork or anything to help you get your pitch correct. So yes, nice.
Yeah. When you sing a note in gamelan, you will be like out of tune in Western music.
Yes, yes. Because of the microtones. I tell my students the same thing. Just because you don't recognize the pitch, that does not mean that musician is out of tune.
Yeah.
He is just playing a note that you're not familiar with.
Mm.
Yes, correct. I think we have a last question here. Oh, two more. Okay, I'll take two more last questions. Because there's no standard tone, this Yi Hang, one of my China students, what happens if you lose the beat during the performance? They're challenging you with the questions. So
Okay. Um, well, like gamelan, because you can't retune the gamelan, right? Because it's already tuned.
Yep.
Because it's made out of bronze. You're like, you won't be. I mean, losing out of note, out of tune with other ensemble. But when we are lose our beat,
the rhythm, yeah.
yeah, the rhythm, there is instrument, yeah, that plays tempo. In Bali, we this instrument is called kajar. It keeps the if you look, if you um, watch my last video, there's one player who plays the beat, ta, 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 ta. So you could watch this tempo given by this instrument, and then to be able to know the beginning of the cycle, yeah, you should listen to the big gong. Big gong is the sign of the beginning of the cycle. So when you lose the beat, listen to these two instruments, then you will be back to the circle.
Yep. And that's why it's called the colotomic cycle, isn't it? Every instrument has a
Yeah.
role to play in that cycle.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. Last question. Have you ever tried to play the gamelan with other instruments like Chinese instruments or Western instruments? I think the question here is fusing the gamelan with non-Indonesian instruments.
Can I play the video?
Yeah, for sure.
That's the last video. Okay, I'm gonna look for it on YouTube first.
And that'll be a nice closing for the last question.
Yeah. Hang on. I have combined Balinese Gamelan and Arhu.
Ah, nice.
So I'm looking for the video on
It will
YouTube.
be nice for the China students to see.
Hmm. Ah,
You're going to share screen again, yeah?
yes. I'm sharing my screen right now. So I did this. Can you see it, Ravina?
No, it's gone blur now. You want to stop and start again?
Blur.
Yes, you have to exit your full screen. Exit your
Can you see
share
it?
screen. Not yet.
How about
Okay.
now?
Now can, yes.
So it's a collaboration I did with this Malaysian Arhu player. So I
Ah,
composed all the music,
okay.
and he just play what I wrote.
Very
Let me.
nice.
There. That's it.
Nice. Thank you, Dr. Sudi. So you can see how the music is actually very fluid and it's able to collaborate in different settings. And Ahu, I think, was just one example. There's so many examples of the gamelan being fused and played with other ensembles and other genres. So thank you very much. I'd like to say a very big thank you to Dr. Sudi for agreeing to share his experience and knowledge, and very insightful and very informative session today. So thank you. Thank you very much to all who participated and asked your questions and challenged Dr. Sudi. Made him scratch his head for some of the questions.
But
Yeah.
it's really, I'm really honored. I'm really happy to be able to share my knowledge, as in also like Balinese Gamelan to all of you. And then there is another question here: can the instrument in gamelan be played alone with the symphony? I think it's
Yeah.
possible. It's really
Yes,
possible.
it is.
I've been playing drum. Yeah, I've been playing drum at the Carnegie Hall with the
There you go.
symphony,
There you
with the
go.
chamber orchestra. So I was the lead instrument and also the conductor at the same time, using drum.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
I
At
did.
Carnegie Hall.
I was playing drum with my advisor, Michael
Mhm.
Tenders. So he wrote a
Uh,
piece for uh, uh, chamber orchestra,
mhm.
which was like led by this Balinese drums leading the orchestra.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
Beautiful. Is there a recording of that anywhere?
I'm not sure, but I have the audio recording that I could share.
Oh, nice. Yeah, yeah, for sure. I'd love to actually play that and
I
share
don't
it
know
in
if
class.
there are videos, but I have the audio.
That would be nice. That would be very nice.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're going to end the session 10 minutes early, but thank you everyone for spending your morning with us. And I hope you learned something a little bit about the Balinese gamelan and the ancient manuscripts of Prakempa and Aji Ghurnita and how they actually used in compositions. So we will see you in the next ResearchIN session for today. Thank you. And thank you, Dr. Sudi. I'll be in touch.
Thank you so much for
Thank
inviting
you.
me and for the time. Thank you.
Pleasure. Pleasure. Thank you very much.